I will share with you certain aspects about how certain emotions affect you, how they affect you. So anger. Anger is something which I would say, not mince my word, 100% people in the world face anger, always. Always in the sense they have anger, face anger with your parent or whatever, XYZ. And if they are able to voice themselves, fine, still anger will be there. If they are not able to voice themselves, then pent-up anger, which is furthermore bad. Now anger affects your liver. Now, if you look at liver, it will cause, in the worst cases, again, please don't rush to any checkup. This is just, I'm telling you, this is what can happen in worst cases also. Some cases you will find it is very evident. So in worst cases, it will turn into choleric humor. Generally, if anger is there, then irritability. Irritability because you are not able to do what you want to. So irritable you will become. So as they say, sometimes, particularly if you really look at during the lunar phases, like full moon and new moon day, you will feel more irritated. This is a pattern which you can observe. I'm not trying to put anything in your mind, just observe as and when you feel like. So like tomorrow is full moon. So just observe yourself today. Maybe you will find something around that. Then hypertension is something which anger generally, so these are all over a period of time. It's not that, okay, one day I had anger, so tomorrow I'll go to the doctor to check my BP. No, that doesn't work that way. Your body has a lot of tensile strength. But if you keep misusing it, if you keep abusing it, somewhere it will break up. And it is again, this is also somewhere in your ancestral lineage. So this can also release your ancestral issues. For example, I thank God for this process to be given to me, because we had a blood pressure issue which is in the lineage. Like in our lineage, 25, 30 ke andar, even if you are 25, 26 years, you will get blood pressure. So I am thankful to the Almighty that I was able to do it for my son. He is now 30 and touch wood, I am saying that he is still very far away and he is pretty cool and calm, collected on these aspects. So I am very sure he will not face that same genetic issue. So here it is a time to even change your genetic diseases. This is what it can do in the broader aspect. Please think about that for a minute. Then I'll proceed to the next. So how genetically it can change your life. Imagine that. That is where you need to visualize yourself, that your life will change completely after this process. Once you visualize that, then making decisions is very easy. Okay. Now I'll give you one small shock. Generally they say, have a happy birthday, let happiness be there with you. Let me also inform you, happiness is a very big imbalance. I'll tell you why. Not that I don't want you to be happy, but only happy will give you an expectation of being happy. And the moment you have even a small, brief, as they say, ups and downs, you're supposed to be facing ups and downs in life. So if you're too happy, then the expectation of even getting even a small bad news, because a lot of people have this penchant saying that, please don't laugh too much. Kuch galat ho jayega. Something wrong will happen to you. So that's also a kind of we carry that kind of so somewhere even happiness is an imbalance, where happiness affects your heart. If you are contented happy, then that is fine. Contented happy is different. Here, this happiness of expectation. I'll give you an example here. I was in Africa 20 years back, and when I came back from Africa, I remember the full night. Next day was my flight. Full night I was awake in that happiness. I reached on the third day morning. I was awake for 48 hours. And the moment I reached there, I was irritable. because I wanted to just go and sleep. I was so happy. I just met my family, and after that, I said, "Let's go home." I was then totally lethargic, and I reached whatever. So this is also an imbalance where it can affect you. It can make you anxious. Let's say the flight would have got delayed by 6 hours. I would have become more anxious. So these are things where, if you note about it, I'm sure a lot of people argue with me when I tell that happiness is an imbalance. So this is how it is. Please be rest assured. This is completely checked by me, and mostly all examples are there with me. I can share all these examples with you. Then there is something called procrastination, which is the most biggest waste of time. Procrastination, overthinking about anything. This affects the spleen. It affects your digestion. Your digestive system gets affected by this. Plus, I'm sure a lot of people may be facing bloating, maybe, depending on and particularly when you get on the spiritual path, there are times when you get into bloating, distension, indigestion, and all those kind of things. So this is what comes from procrastination, overthinking. So the next time you have bloating, think, what did I really overthink? And maybe, just detach yourself from those overthoughts. Contemplate if you want, don't overthink. Overthinking is something like you have fought 99% of the battlefields are fought in the mind. 1% actually on battlefield. So the overthinking is what causes the more distress and anxiety. Then over there, whatever, let the war get over, man. Come on, we are thinking too much, we are talking too much. Let's get it over with. So that kind of execution. So somewhere you have to stop overthinking. Then, of course, there is something called sadness, which you go through, God forbid. I'm saying, God forbid, anybody goes through sadness, but it affects the heart and lungs. And predominantly, it again, it can give rise to palpitations of the heart. And in lungs, basically, God forbid, if too many people have been too much of sad and with anger, then there is a chance of asthma developing. This is a trauma-induced asthma. Generally, all these asthmatic cases are because of somewhere it is related to anxiety. So please do not, when I'm saying this, please do not attach to these words. Just please be aware of it and then just release these thoughts. I will do the healing so that you don't attach to these thoughts at least. Then the fear. Of course, a lot of people mention fears. The fears are generally available in the kidneys and knees. The kidneys and the knees are affected by fear. And of course, in major cases, it will give you kidney issues or knee. I'm sure over a period of time, if you see, generally, I have seen a lot of ladies and gents getting affected when they are about 50, 60. So these are the fears which only tell you and come out in different ways. I also had some indications around 45 about my fear, because I was carrying a lot of fears. From 45 to today, 55, 56 today. By the way, I shared my age again. Come on, and I cannot keep doing this. So, so my knee issue has just gone away. That there was a slight pain which had started when I was 45. It's got all cleared. Everything is cleared. Then there is surprise. Surprise is something so surprise can be a shock also, which affects the heart and the gallbladder. Again, giving you a lot of palpitations. Surprise can be, so any surprise, like for example, children go through a lot of surprise shock awarenesses when they wait for their results, when they have examinations, a lot of surprise or an anxiety related to that. So anxiety is also somewhere affected. Then you have got, as I said, surprise, even grief and anxiety are just behind, that affects your lungs. So, sorry, the fear, I didn't tell you that generally fear leads the kidneys and knee. Also, it leads into UTI, urinary tract infections. Generally, if you are more affected by that, which means it is fear and pent-up anger. God forbid, again, cancer is because of pent-up anger, frustration, anger, again, fear, all those things put together. Then the urge to urinate when frightened. Generally, if you see children when they, if they are so this is something which you can see in your children. In case they are affected by this anger, this fear, so they will have the urge to urinate if God forbid someone shouts at them or they see some horror movie or some violence scene in the picture. So these are things where you can just identify your children if they are carrying any fears. Because having an open dialogue with them is very important. Because of the bullying, they will be facing maybe, let's say, some places either in the home or in the school, some cases of bullying also will be evident, which can lead to fear. And ultimately, if you have a channel of communication with the children, you can guide them out of these kind of scenarios. This is my awareness, which I'm trying to give you. So, grief and anxiety, lungs, which can lead to breathlessness. If you have too much of grief and anxiety, breathlessness, fatigue, then brain fog. This happens because of grief and anxiety. Cramps, muscle cramps if you are facing regularly, which means there is some evident, maybe you've gone through a lot of things like this. And as I mentioned, amygdala, which is the just behind the head, is the trauma center. So these are the way you can come about. In fact, one lady, she had a gallbladder removed. So she was having this shock and anxiety and stress, all those things. So when I released her, although the gallbladder was already removed, but her digestion things improved after that. Because God forbid, if the gallbladder is removed, the digestion becomes really bad, or rather it is affected. But in her case, she has been able to heal herself regularly, and even her digestion has become much improved compared to. So otherwise, there was a lot of people who tell you, oh, you are not able to eat wheat, you're not able to eat XYZ, you have an allergy for this, you have an allergy for milk, for food. What is that? These are all, again, your fears which are coming from your stored memory. Try doing this. If you are doing this, I used to have an allergy of certain foods. After doing my inner child, I started eating those, and I have no problem now eating those foods, which earlier I used to have issues. So in short, whatever body's deficiencies, known, unknown, will get cleared. And you will be able to live life queen size, king size. If you're a queen and king, don't think before doing anything. So similarly, you should also just go ahead, live your life. Right? Yeah. And we are open to any questions if you have around this. In case you have anything to mention on the chats, you can tell us as and when.
Thank you, Deepak. This was so enlightening. I could relate to some of the things you mentioned, and it's like a wake up call for us to, address these emotions or these behaviors. And of course, the inner child healing modality is also there. So, how at the beginning of the call, Deepak mentioned about the traits that we are carrying and then how these are affecting our health, and we can heal these. In fact, Diksha agrees with what you were mentioning about some people's mood swings during around the moon time, Deepak,
Yeah,
and Shalini agrees with you.
yeah,
She's saying she's kind of has procrastination issues due to which she faces indigestion and bloating.
right, right.
And a couple of queries, similar queries, Deepak, is about skin. What about skin issues like urticaria, vasculitis, which are chronic?
Yeah,
So Soumya and Gitanjali have asked, what do
yeah,
skin issues represent?
yeah. I'll share with you. In fact, what I have mentioned here, the emotions. Generally, like for example, your lungs is something where your skin, because ultimately you're breathing oxygen. So your skin basically also breathes, right? So skin, any attachment issues generally. So that is an attachment issue, whatever you feel, it will result into a issue for the skin particularly. So attachment means, let's say, eczema all those things come up. So, for example, when I was in Africa, I remember I was 1 year already there, 1 year more to remain to come here. So, I had a lot of eczema issues because I was having this fear and the anxiety because I was away from family. That time was not like this, where we used to talk to them once in week, 15 days, 1 month also once, we used to speak. Nowadays, so every day we can speak on WhatsApp or whatever. That time it was not the case. So those anxiety, finally what happens is that it's a family. My wife had her own anxieties. I had my own anxiety. So I had a lot of anxieties like this. Those anxieties actually went away when after I got into the healings. So it was there for close to 8 to 10 years. Those fears, anxieties remained. The moment I got into this, believe me, just about 2 months' time, miraculously the eczema went away. I am aware that psoriasis also has its roots in overthinking, anger, and even somewhere in your ancestral thing. Psoriasis, God forbid, that's a very bad one also. So skin energies also basically are towards attachments. Again, a lot of fears and anxiety, stress, all those affect your. What I mentioned here is basically the five viscerals. So the heart, lungs, liver, kidney, and spleen. Other than that, large intestine, then gallbladder. These are the two which are associated with emotions. So these are the general things. Other than that, whatever is in the digestive or excretory system will also get affected because these are affected. But I'm telling you, these are the roots. So you will have, even let's say you have a bad stomach, so this will reflect on the skin also. Let's say acne will come up for children when they have an imbalanced stomach, like maybe more of oil within the system, which is not getting flushed out probably. So even your system where your let's say, so wherever you are releasing certain things from the kidney, liver, these are the flushing out organs of the system. So if you're not able to flush out, they will still be in your skin, though even the skin will get bad because of that. So all that, these five viscerals are affected, plus the skin as and when it is getting affected. But that is not a visceral, so it has not been identified. These are the root causes why that happens. So even a lot of people will have hair falling, a lot of people will have scalp issues, so all those things will result, but this is the root cause where it happens.
Deepak, Soumya is agreeing with you. Attachment issues make sense. We recently lost our parents, and our brother is also working in other city. Her sister is actually suffering with urticaria. Deepak, thank you so much for sharing these. There is just one more question about the health, and I want to come back and relate this to inner child healing, Deepak. Preeti and Neha have asked, what about obesity and weight gain? Are they also related to inner child issues or emotions?
Yes, of course. So spleen, what is spleen? Spleen is basically towards your body's regulation of weight and other things. That manages the throat or the, what do you call it? Thyroid. Ultimately, body's metabolism, everything is connected. So once your digestion and excretory systems are affected, everything goes for a toss. Over a period of time, the thyroid may not be immediately affected. Immediately, it will not get affected. It will take some years, some consolidated years, where it starts affecting the thyroid when you also attach it with some fears and more. So these are all not, it's not that, you overthink, so this will happen, that will happen. It is not like this. There is a mixture of too many things. But yes, obesity is 100% linked to somewhere overthinking and somewhere anger, which is there inside you, pent-up anger and frustration. There are two ways of looking at it. One person will completely become thin and one person will completely become obese, again on your body structure. So as they say, a lot of people start burning their energies. They are jealous, let's say, for example. I'm just giving an example. They are very jealous and things like that. They will become completely thin. And one set of people who are very jealous become very fat. So these are all imbalances somewhere. So it all depends upon your body structure. So you will either gain gain weight or you will lose weight. Thyroid does that only, na? Increases or reduces weight. So it all depends upon your body structure. Whether you will gain weight, reduce weight, it all depends upon you. Now, even when I have reduced a lot of weight, I still appear on the plumpier side. So that is my body structure. I can't help it. I don't want to. I'm happy with the way I am.
Deepak, you're just wonderful.
Although I have lost about 10 kgs in the last 2 years only. So it's
Absolutely,
not
Deepak.
an unhealthy loss. It's a good loss.